You ain't black.
It is officially time for a new vision.
Did you?
Okay, cool.
Hold on a second, babe.
A value which cannot be taken away by anyone or anything.
Hey everybody, welcome to Ashonda at Large, where we discuss faith, family, and the future of our community. I want to thank you for joining me once again. I hope that you are having a blessed day, and we are going to get into an amazing discussion. But before we do, I want to invite you all to like as well as to subscribe to this channel if you have not already done so. And don't forget to hit that notification bell on your right so that you can get my latest updates as they come out. Also, feel free to email me with questions, concerns, prayer requests, or content that you would like me to discuss on this channel at ashonda@large11@gmail.com. So let's go ahead and get into today. I tried to approach this particular discussion from several different angles, but there was none greater to be able to actually capture what my discussion was going to be on today until Joe Biden made that comment after his interview with Charlemagne regarding what it means to be, quote unquote, black. You ain't black, he said, if you don't vote for me. Wow. I mean, the brazenness that this man expressed was atrocious. It was a mishmash of his rambling, his trying to convince Charlemagne and the listeners that the 94 crime bill, which put a huge amount of our young men in the prison system, was not something that he spearheaded, but rather he came alongside of it. But it was not something that he pushed as his personal initiative. Now, of course, you have only to go back into the congressional hearings as well as articles that were written regarding this crime bill in 94 to see whose stamp was completely on this bill. But even in his demented state, he is still a politician. So leave it to him to spin the truth. But what he said in particular is what we're going to discuss today. You ain't black. I would have to say that whether or not we realize it, Joe Biden said something that was absolutely crucial for us to understand. You see, we have to only go back to what that term black means. If we go back to the definition of what black people are, we're going to find where its root is. Has nothing to do with us. It's something that we've adopted, but just take a simple look on Wikipedia for the definition of black people, and they'll tell you right away that it's a skin group-based classification for specific people with a mid to dark brown complexion. Well, let's stop right there and think about what black is. This is black. This is dark brown. But yet somehow this is a skin group-based classification for specific people with a mid to dark brown complexion. And then they go on to say not all black people have dark skin. However, in certain countries, often in socially based systems of racial classifications in the quote unquote Western world, the term black is used to describe persons who are perceived as dark skinned compared to other populations. Now, the operative words there were Western world. It is the Western society that has placed that label of black upon us. And we, a people without an identity, we ate it up. We absolutely ate it up. We can only go back to what our ancestors were called originally when they came here. They were called Hebo, and then that went from Hebo to Negro, and it went from Negro to colored, then from colored to Afro, and then to African American, and now today Black American or Black people. But let's go on and listen a little further as to what Wikipedia says Black people are, or how many of us should consider ourselves. It says, for many other individuals, communities, and countries, Black is also perceived as a derogatory, outdated, reductive, or otherwise unrepresentative label, and as a result is neither used nor defined, especially in African cultures with little to no colonial history. Some have pointed out that labeling people groups black is erroneous, as the people described as black have a brown skin color. Now, I think I just said that like a few seconds ago. One thing is black and one thing is dark brown, but we collectively have accepted a term that was given to us by our colonial past, the Western world. They describe for us what it is that we are, and we accepted it. This is the problem with having an assimilated mind. This is the Hegelian dialectic, if you will. This is the argument for and against the very idea that we did not put forth. Hegelian dialect is described as a dialectical method. It's at its base a discourse between two or more people holding different point of views about a subject, but wishing to establish the truth through the reasoned arguments. Dialectic resembles debate, but the concept excludes subjective elements such as emotional appeal and the modern pejorative sense of rhetoric. Dialectic may thus be contrasted with both heuristic, which refers to argument that aims to successfully dispute another's argument rather than searching for truth, or the didactic method wherein one side of the conversation teaches the other. Dialectic is alternatively known as minor logic as opposed to major logic or critique. Now, what we need to understand is that this idea of blackness that was thrust upon us is a part of this mishmash of confusion about who we are and our identity. At the core, it's based off of our identity. You see, dialectic comprises 3 stages of development. First, it's a thesis or statement of an idea. You're black, which gives rise to a second step, a reaction or antithesis that contradicts or negates the thesis. You ain't black. And third, the synthesis, a statement through which the differences between the 2 points are resolved. Dialectical materialism, a theory or set of theories produced mainly by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, adapted the Hegelian dialectic into arguments regarding traditional materialism. But it goes on to say that this process is particularly marked in Hegelian dialectic and even more so in Marxist dialectic, which may rely on the evolution of ideas over longer time periods in the real world. Dialectical logic attempts to address this. At the end of the day, what we're dealing with is an argument here. Who's black and who's not black? What it means to be black. Well, we already saw that black is a skin group classification given to us by the Western world, and those of our brethren who do not have a colonial past, they don't even accept that terminology, black. They look at it as derogatory. But no, we, because we have lived under a system of tyranny, a system of assimilation, we have adopted this idea of our blackness, and we now believe it's important for us to defend it. Well, what do you mean, Joe Biden? I ain't black if I don't vote Democrat. Well, they are the ones who classified you as what you are, and now you're fighting for the classification in which you didn't define yourself. You never defined yourself. See, this is the problem with the assimilated mind. This is the devastation of the assimilated mind. Let's look at the definition of assimilate. It says to take in information, ideas, or culture and understand fully. Cause something to resemble or liken. We as a people have taken on the ideas and the cultures of the Western society. We have likened ourselves in the fashion, not in the image of the Most High Yah, but rather we have likened ourselves in the image and the fashion of the dominant society. What they tell us that we are. They say, you black. They say, you Negro. They say, you Afro-American. We say, yes, massa. I'm all of those things. Whatever it is that you tell me I am is what I am. But what we are That's something that we cannot understand. That is something that we cannot know. That is something that we will even fight with one another against. Learning the real history, the real identity of us as a people group. This is something that we, those of us who are studying the scriptures and come to the understanding of our true Israelite identity, have been trying to communicate to our quote unquote black brothers and sisters for such a long time. This is why I said maybe about 3 or 4 discussions ago on this channel that I don't even like using the terminology black and white any longer because of the picture that's painted in one's mind. The original use of it in the Webster Dictionary was to paint an idea of void, darkness, ignorance, to be ignored when you talk about the word black, which is exactly what has been done to us as a people group, to be ignored, to be left in the dark, to be not considered. And that's exactly what Joe Biden is doing. That interview that he did with Charlemagne was reflective of his thoughts about quote unquote black people. I don't even have to give you more than 15 minutes of my time, even though I am demanding. And I already have a surety within myself, in my arrogant self, that the black vote belongs to me. Matter of fact, my wife's interview is more important than talking to your entire community. And when I talk to you, I'm not going to do so with respect, one man to another. Oh, no, absolutely not. I'm going to talk like jive turkey. I'm going to talk like I'm speaking to someone who is on the block, in the hood, because I don't think that you can hold an intelligent conversation, even though I'm the demented one. I'm the one who's stumbling to hold thoughts together coherently, but yet I don't believe that you have enough intelligence within you to hold a conversation whereby we speak in intelligible language. You see, this is exactly what the American system, the Western world, thinks about us. And now we see that Donald Trump is playing into this and mocking it, having a website saying you ain't black, and selling apparel that suggests just the same. I'm sure Brandon Tatum and Candace Owen and the like are having a field day with this. And yet we're left to defend our quote unquote blackness. Whether we are Democrat or Republican or independent, we're left to defend our blackness. You see, I've come to the conclusion a long time ago that it doesn't matter whether you call yourself Republican or Democrat, it's just 2 different plantations. It's still the same slave system. And we've allowed them to define for us who we are, rather than us knowing who we are based upon the precepts of the Most High Yah through his most holy word. See, we are the Israelites, fam. We are the true Israelites. And if you're not familiar with that line of thinking, then I suggest that you spend time going to the only wise leader and ruler, the Most High Yah, through his word in Deuteronomy 28, Psalm 83, Luke 21:24. Those are just some places to start where you can understand your true identity. You can understand why it is that you've been fed an assimilated mind. But we really need to ask ourselves why it is that we have accepted, whether we consider ourselves conservative, because there's this idea and this notion that if I consider myself conservative and I vote for the Republican Party, that I have escaped the assimilated mindset. While those on the left who say, if you vote for Joe Biden or you vote for Barack Obama, that you've escaped the assimilated mindset. And at the end of the day, we're both arguing and we're both still enslaved. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether or not you vote for one who considers himself conservative or Republican, or one who considers themselves liberal or Democrat. At the end of the day, it is their system. They have set up the rules, but we have to decide at this point if we're going to continue to play their game. Because all this is about this blackness is their game. It's their rules. They set it up. You're black. Then they shut it down. No, you're not black. And then we're left a people without an identity, because at the end of the day, what Joe Biden said really points to the core of our identity. You ain't black if you don't vote for me. Isn't that what Lyndon Johnson said that he would have these NIGGERS's, black people voting Democrat for the next 200 years? Because the true Israelites voted Republican primarily before that time, before all the handouts, before all of the government kickbacks for voting Democrat. They literally destroyed the fabric of our home, the family unit, taking the man out of the home, and then gave our women a bunch of government quote unquote assistance so that we wouldn't be poor. But in reality, there's no real wealth there. You cannot pass on food stamps. You cannot pass on Section 8 housing. You cannot build wealth on that. It's no more wealth than buying a car. At the end of the day, it decreases in value. It does not increase in value. So we're left holding the economic bag, and we're still suffering under this tyrannical, westernized system while we're holding on to a frail identity given to us by the dominant society. So you go ahead and argue about whether or not you're black, or you can realize that black is a color and you are a people with an identity that has been stolen from you, a people with a culture that has been stolen from you, a people with a leader and a ruler that has been stolen from you, who has made us into their image. Or we're going to grab a hold of our true identity by the one whose image we're actually made in. If we can fall out of love with the gods of this world, with the kings of this earth, and fall back in love with the King of Kings, Yahushua HaMashiach, then we can start to see the repair of the breach that we so desperately want, the reparations that we so desperately want, because they're not going to come at the hand of wicked men unless the Most High Yah says so. And he will repay. Well, that's all I have for you today. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to Ashonda at Large, where we discuss faith, family, and the future of our community. I definitely want to know what you think, so please drop a comment below in the comment section. This might be a little bit more controversial today, but it's necessary. So I also want to invite you to like as well as to share this. And thank you so much for your participation. Thank you so much for being a part of this discussion. As always, love yourself without hating your enemies. And until next time, Yah bless and Salamah.